Revolutionary, welcome back. It's been a long time, and I came to know that one of the videos was actually reposted as the second part. So I'm just making this video again, which is chapter 7 of General Psychology from IGNOU from your BA course. Its name is Nature and Principle of Human Development, and this time we'll be covering from periods of development. So, human development period spans the lifetime from conception to the end of life. These periods are as follows: prenatal, early, middle, and late childhood, puberty, adolescence, high hung, hue hung, adulthood. I think it's read as hue hung. It seems like it's a kind of Korean term. Early, middle, and later adulthood, old age. Okay, so basically, what it means that our time period or our lifespan from our very birth to our death, it's been divided into these several different kinds of periods, and these periods are named as follows. I just read to you. So, as the child grows and approaches adulthood, the periods are adolescence, early, middle, and late adulthood. So, basically, you just need to remember these. You don't need to go into too much detail. Just need to remember a few of them. You need to remember the childhood. After childhood, it's adolescence, and after adolescence, it's early adulthood, middle adulthood, and finally late adulthood. You can also remember the prenatal one. So what you can skip is you can skip the infancy and toddlerhood period, and you can also skip the early childhood and middle childhood period as well. They are not so important. You can just cover them up in childhood itself. You don't need to separate them into even more smaller parts. Okay, so early childhood and middle childhood can be covered up within childhood itself, and you can just remember prenatal. You don't need to remember the infancy and toddlerhood either. I mean, it's not important from your examination point of view or otherwise. Numerous theories have been put forward about the periods of development and the movement from one period to the next stage. So this author is saying that there have been various theories about how one person moves from one period of development to other period of development. So it's not like you just grow up, like just life is going on and you are growing up in years, so you just move from one phase to another. You need to mentally develop. You need to develop yourself physically and mentally as well in order to move from one period to another period. So what I'm trying to say is that a person, maybe like we can see the approximate age ranges in here. So a person could be in the adolescence period in the age range of 11 to 18 years. Let's say he's 15 years. Okay, so physically he's in the adolescence age, but he could be mentally in the early childhood age as well. Let's assume that he has some mental difficulties, mental deformities, and he has the brain of a 2 to 6 years old child. So we can't actually say that he has already moved from early childhood to adolescence. Okay, this will be a dilemma here because we can't cover that person. We can't put that person in any one of the periods. We can't put him in the early childhood period, nor we can put him in the adolescence period. So that's why you need to understand the factors, the theories that determine if a person has moved from one period of development to other period of development. You see, the word development itself is very important and necessary. It itself determines that you need to develop in order to move from one period to another. It's not like a natural process. It's not like you are just born and then all the other things would happen naturally. You would naturally move from one period of development to another period of development. These things will not happen. Okay, it generally does in most of the cases, obviously, unless there is some kind of difficulty, deformity, some accident, or some special case. But still, we need to keep in mind that you need to develop in order to move from one phase to another for the sake of theory. Various theories attempt to define how movement from one level to the next level of development occurs. The periods of development are given below. Each period has certain important tasks to accomplish by the individual, and depending on the success or completion of the task, the movement to the next stage of development take place. So these are the tasks, or these are the requirements that we need to fulfill in order to move from one period to another period. So it's not like that you are a 19 or you're a 20-year-old person, so you would just automatically be considered as the in the phase of early adulthood. Okay, this would not be the case. You would only be considered into the early adulthood case if we look at you through this theory, through these periods of development theory. You would only be considered in the early adulthood age if you satisfy all the previous criteria, if you have already fulfilled all the previous requirements. Now let's see one by one what these requirements are. So in the prenatal period, which is from conception to birth, conception here requires that when you as a sperm enter the cell, okay, that's when conception starts. And birth is when you come out of the womb. So from day 0 to 9 months, that's what conception period, conception to birth is. That's what this period is. The one-celled organism transforms into a human baby with remarkable capacity to adjust to the life outside the womb. Okay, so the very first requirement is the very basic and the most, the most obvious requirement. It is to transform yourself in from a single-celled organism to a multicellular body, and such a body that you are able to adjust yourself to the life that will be outside the womb. Okay, so let's assume that you somehow, for some accidental reasons, managed to you did not manage to accommodate the outside lifestyle, or you did not manage to develop properly, and as soon as you come out of the womb you die because you could not adjust to the outside circumstances. So in this case, obviously you would not be considered in the prenatal stage, because you have already died. I mean, you wouldn't be considered in any stage. But let's say that you did uh, survive for a few days. So even during that time, you would not be considered in the prenatal stage, because you have failed to develop your cell, develop your body in such a way that it is able to fight against the outside environment, or resist it at least. Second stage is your infancy and toddlerhood, which is from your birth, that is from 9 months of age to 2 years. And here, let me tell you that we are talking about biological ages here, not mental age or anything like that. This age range is your biological age, and biological age is always counted from day zero when you were a cell. So when you're born, you're already considered 9 months old according to your biological age. So what happens in this infancy and adulthood? What are your tasks? What are your requirements that you must fulfill in this period in order to move on to the next period? So in case you're confused, let me tell you that this prenatal stage has already occurred. Okay, when let's say that in this prenatal stage there are some requirements that you must fulfill in order to climb to the next stage. Okay, I think I made a mistake previously. Prenatal stage is already, you have already achieved prenatal stage as soon as you enter the cell as soon as you enter the egg as a single cell. Okay, you have already achieved the prenatal stage. But in order to move to the next stage, that is, in order to move to the stage of infancy and toddlerhood, you must fulfill these criteria, you must fulfill these tasks. I don't even know if I have a pencil or something like that in here. I think I don't have. Well, whatever. You need to fulfill these criteria. This here. You need to fulfill this criteria in order to move to the period of infancy and toddlerhood. Okay. So just pressing it again. As soon as you enter the egg, you are already in prenatal stage. Okay. This was a mistake I made just right now. So you can correct it now. So now you are now if you have fulfilled this criteria, this one here, now congratulations, you are in the infancy and toddlerhood stage. This stage is supposed to vary between birth and 2 years. It depends on you how fast you complete the task. Okay, usually it takes about 2 years after you're born. Usually, okay, this is the average time that it should take, but it depends on you, how fast you finish these tasks. Dramatic changes in the body and brain support the emergence of a wide. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this approximate age, it is not synonymous with your physical age or how much time it has been since you've been born. It is not synonymous with that. This is just to give you an idea about how much time every human normally takes to adjust to these changes, to fulfill these requirements. Okay, some people can do it early. So according to this theory, we would consider them at a later period. Okay, so even if the person has been I'm trying to say that even if the person has been only 5 years or 6 years since the person will be since the person was born, so you would probably consider him in early childhood, right? But let's say that he has already completed all the tasks from here to here. Okay, but his age is only 6 years, so it has only been 6 years since he was actually born, but he has covered all this task up to here. So he would be considered among the adolescence group. Okay, according to this theory, I'm stressing it again, according to this particular theory, the theory of periods of development, he would be considered in adolescence period. So these periods are not synonymous with the ages. I'm telling it again. These periods are not synonymous with these ages. These are in fact synonymous with these tasks. These tasks are more important than the age. Okay, so moving on to the next stage, that is infancy and adulthood. You need to go through these changes now. You need to complete these tasks, these requirements. Dramatic changes in the body and brain support the emergence of a wide array of motor, perceptual, and intellectual capacities and first intimate ties to others. So you start developing your brain, you start developing your motor skills. Okay, you start to learn how to walk, how to form words, move your mouth, move your facial muscles, move your motor muscles. Motor muscles include your hands and legs, and how to form relationships with others, intimate relationships. The first intimate relationship, intimate means very close relationships, okay, don't get it mixed up. And the first intimate relationships of a child are with his parents, with his mother, with his father, and if you have a older sibling, maybe with your sibling. Then if you manage to form these intimate relationships and you manage to learn to walk and learn to talk, or just form little words, then congratulations, you can now move on to the next stage, which is the early childhood stage. And the tasks that are associated or that are aligned for this stage usually take you 4 years. That is, usually take you from 2 to 6, not 2 to 6 years, but usually are covered when you turn from 2 to 6 year old. So these years are also called play years. So during these play years, motor skills are refined, thought and language expand at an astounding pace. A sense of morality is evident, and children begin to establish ties to peers. So this is basically when most of your development occurs. Okay, and what does these development include? This development includes your motor skills. Your motor skills become highly refined. You are now able to walk with very ease and perfection. Okay, you are able to walk with like very easily. You don't need to balance yourself, and you don't need to stress yourself about walking, and you can even run. In fact, you can run, you can walk very easily. It becomes natural to you. Then your thought and language also expand at an astounding pace. So because this is basically, this is the time when you start going to school, or maybe you enter kindergarten. I don't really actually recall whether I was in kindergarten. I never actually went to kindergarten, but I don't really recall whether I was in school at this time. But I assume you mostly go to LKG or nursery at this age. Yeah, in fact, I was admitted to nursery at age 4, I think. So obviously, since you've started going to school, so it means that your brain has developed enough that you can comprehend written material, that you can learn new things. Okay, this means that your brain has developed almost fully in order to accumulate information and learn from it. Then you also develop a sense of morality. Morality is actually a very unique and very complex concept within itself. But to sum it up, morality is the what is right and what is wrong, the sense, a sense of what is right and what is wrong. So you start developing this sense of morality. You start judging for yourself whether what I'm doing is right or wrong, whether what the other person is doing is right or wrong. You decide for yourself whether the people fighting are right or they are wrong, whether my parent scolding me is right, is for the good, or is wrong. You get a sense of this thing. I'm not saying you become completely moral, you understand it perfectly. Heck, even adults can't perfectly comprehend morality, but you get a sense of it, you get a gist. Okay, and children begin to establish ties to peers. So this is the time when you form very close, very good friendships with your friends. Okay, you form very close bonds with your friends. This is the time when you are so innocent and so ready to believe everyone, and you're just friendly, and you just want to talk to everyone, and just want to form friendship with everyone. Then if you have done all these things, we can successfully move on to the middle childhood period, which usually lasts from 6 to 11 years of age. And in this between this time period of 5 years, you must accomplish some tasks. And these tasks are what? The school years are marked by advances in athletic abilities, logical thought processes, basic literary skills, understanding of self, morality and friendship, and peer group membership. A lot of to do, no? So this is the time when you formally start your school, like maybe you're in first class or second class, that nursery and LKG is finished, and you start developing your athletic abilities. Most people run really fast at this age. They're always running, they're so full of energy all the time. You play athletic games like cricket or hockey or football, so these kinds of games which you weren't able to play earlier. Then your logical thought processes also start developing. You start using logic. You start answering questions for yourself, that if this goes on like this, then what would be the possible outcome? If we add 2 plus 2, then the outcome would be 4, or if we add 3 plus 5, then the outcome would be 8. Okay, so you start using logical senses. Then basic literary skills start developing. You start learning how to read and how to write. Okay, you have, I wouldn't say you have completely mastered it. I mean, I'm at the age of 19, 20. I mean, even I couldn't master such skills at such an age. So what can we expect from a little child? But you start learning these skills. Okay, you learn the basic literary skills at least. Then you get a feeling of self, and this is the very stage when you start questioning yourself about your life's existence and purpose. When you start thinking, what am I, what who created me? Okay, you start asking such questions. What is my purpose in life? What do I really have to do? Why am I really born? Then you get a sense of morality as well. You get a better, I wouldn't say you perfectly understand morality at this stage either, but you start to understand morality better. Previously you couldn't really understand whether your parents are scolding you for good or bad, but now you can judge, at least even if you don't want to admit it, but still deep inside you can judge that my parents are probably doing this for my own good. Okay, even if you don't admit it, of course. And you start forming peer and group memberships. Okay, you means you start associating yourself with groups. You start forming more friends, and you kind of start forming groups of friends. So if you've done all these things successfully, then you can move on to the stage of adolescence, which usually lasts between 11 to 18 years. Of course, this is a rather complex stage now, so it could take some people it can take a longer time period to complete this stage. For some people it can take a shortened time period, and it does vary, it does highly vary between individuals nowadays, especially. So puberty leads to an adult-sized body and sexual maturity. So you reach sexual maturity, you gain an adult-sized body. I'm not saying you gain an adult mind, but you get an adult-sized body at least. And you also gain sexual maturity. You start thinking about the purpose of sex, and the reason why it exists, or you start having these kinds of feelings. Thought becomes abstract and idealistic, and school achievement more serious. So at this phase, you start focusing more on your scholarly achievements, because you know that you'll be appreciated for your school achievements. So this is only natural. Adolescents focus defining personal values and goals and establishing autonomy from the family. So you start establishing. So this is a very long time period. Okay, so this covers too many stages. So at this stage you start realizing what your goals are, what your aims are, what you want to be, and how you, whether you're different from your family or the same as your family, whether you like your family or you dislike your family, or whether your family supports you or does not support you. So you get to know about these kinds of things. Moving on to early adulthood, which lasts from 18 to 40 years, a very huge time span. Most young people leave home at this stage. They complete their education. Okay, they complete their education by 21, 22, 23, by this time period, and they begin full-time work. That is, they go and find jobs. Major concerns are developing a career, forming an intimate partnership, and marrying, rearing children, or establishing other lifestyles. I don't think I need to go into details about this. It's just the basic stuff that most people do. Finish your education, work for a job, get a job, then marry, have kids, raise the kids. So up to when you're like something, when you're like 40, your children are probably already in the adolescence age. Then moving on, you go on to middle adulthood age, which lasts from 40 years to 65 years. Many people are at the height of their careers. They're near retirement, so obviously they're at the height of their careers, and they attain leadership positions. They must also help their children begin independent life. So this is the time period when they must also focus greatly on their children, because their children are also about to enter the adulthood. Okay, so they need to focus hard on their children, because at this stage of time the children would need their utmost support in getting a job and finishing their degrees, so and so. And their parents adapt to aging. They become more aware of their own mortality. So this is the stage when you start thinking about old age, and what you will do after retirement, and the kind of things, like the kind of things you thought when you were 5 or 6 years old, like what is the purpose of life, what are my aims, what are my goals, why do I exist, and why must I exist, these kinds of things. By the time of late adulthood, which is from 65 years till the age you die, so it's an indefinite period, people adjust to retirement. People finally adjust to the boring retired life. Okay, not much to do, not many people to hang around with. To decrease physical strength, yeah, of course, your physical strength and health also starts decreasing. Your body prepares itself for the other world. They reflect on the meaning of their lives and often to the death of a spouse. Yeah, so at this stage, most people leave their partners, to go into the other world earlier than them. So you have to adjust to the death of your spouses more often, and then you start reflecting on what the purpose of your life is, what is the meaning of your life, then existence, and all that. So these were the stages which we covered in detail, which we didn't really need to, but just so you get a gist of what they are about. Moving on to lifespan perspective on development. Lifespan perspective proposed by Paul Baltes considers development is the result of multiple factors in different frameworks. Theories to support the view of lifespan perspective on development view development as a lifelong process and give all age period equal importance. Paul Baltes and his colleagues have identified four underlying principles of the lifespan perspective. So lifespan perspective is another, kind of developmental period, and there are different frameworks for it. So they have defined development through these 5 points. Okay. So this Paul Baltes, this psychologist, and his colleagues, they define development, physical and mental development through these 5 points. First is development is lifelong. So they are saying, or they are of the view that development is not like, it's not a process that stays only until 18 years old or until 20 years old. It's not like it only happens until your puberty or until your adolescence. It's a lifelong process. It continues throughout life. You keep on developing until the day you die. Then development is multidimensional. So this is again a very important and obvious factor. What they're trying to say here is that it's not like development is only in one particular direction. It's not like you develop only physically or you develop only mentally. Development is multidirectional. It is physical, it is mental, it is moral. There can be other directions as well. I don't really remember it. Then development is multidirectional as well. So development is multidimensional and multidirectional. I have a little confusion about the difference between multidimensional and multidirectional in this particular case here, but no problem. We'll read it in detail further, so it will clarify itself. Development is highly plastic, and development is influenced by multiple interacting factors. Okay, now time to read them in a little bit more detail. So first, development is lifelong. This assumption or principle states that all age period play equally important role in development, and no single age period or developmental stage is supreme in its impact on life course than the other. So what they're saying is that it's not like the age period of 5 to 6 years is the most important, and then the age of 18 towards some, the age period of 18 to 40 is less important, or the age period of 65 to death is less important than the age periods from 6 to 11 years. They're saying that all the age periods are equally important. If infancy and toddlerhood is important, then adolescence is also equally important. And if adolescence is important, then middle adulthood or early adulthood or late adulthood, it is also equally important as adolescence. So all of them have equal importance. Therefore, development takes place throughout one's life instead of taking place in parts or stages only proposed by other theories. So, what they're saying that they're uh, giving away with all these different stages. Okay, they don't believe in stages. They don't believe that there is early childhood and there is middle childhood and there is adolescence. They're saying that development is a continuous process. It is not divided into stages. So, let me remind you that this stage, the periods of development, this stage and sorry this theory and this lifespan perspective on development theory, these are two different theories. Okay, these are not the same, they are different theories, though they can have some common things, of course. Okay, so they're saying this Paul Baltes and his colleagues thought that development is lifelong and there are no stages. You can note it down. I actually don't really need to note it down because I've already typed in all the notes and already uploaded them on the previous video as well. So development is multidimensional. Multidimensionality refers to the fact that development cannot take place in one dimension. Rather, it is a result of development in all dimensions: physical, personality, cognitive, and social. Just like I explained earlier. So development takes place in all the dimensions. It takes place mentally, it takes place socially, it takes place physically, it takes place cognitively. Cognitive basically means mental development. Then moving on, development is multi-directional. This assumption states that there is no single and fixed path of development. Development does not mean that there will always be a growth. Rather, at any point of time, development may be a joint expression of growth and decline. Okay. So it's not like if you keep on growing taller and taller, then only you will assume that you are developed. Okay. I mean, in the case of height, we can't really reverse it, but so let me give you some other example. Yeah, let me give you an example that I'm going through myself. So the example of morality. So at one point of time, you may start thinking through a moral perspective that some particular things are wrong. They are taboo. You might assume at an early age that maybe sexual intercourse is wrong. It's morally wrong, and people shouldn't go of offering their bodies to anyone and everyone they come across. But at some other time, let's say that you grow up, and at some other point of time, you start thinking that maybe your earlier thought processes were a little wrong. Maybe sex is a free thing, and it's your choice whether you want to do it with the person you like or not. And it's not something like, something taboo or something really horrifying. It's just a normal physical intimate connection that you can form with multiple people. Okay, so this can be considered kind of decline in your moral thinking, right? Because earlier you were thinking something else, and this time you're thinking the opposite of it. So the direction has changed. You don't always need to connect it with decline and increase. Okay, there can be this direction just means, this direction. So before you were moving on in a particular direction, you were thinking about a particular direction in a particular direction. This time you're thinking in a different direction. Okay, it's just about the direction. Particular before you were thinking it to be something wrong, to be something taboo, but now you're thinking it to be something normal and something just that everyone can do. So the directions are different. I get what you mean. Okay, so moving on, development is highly plastic. Plasticity means that we have the ability to adapt and modify. This means one can develop skills and abilities. Plasticity basically means adaptability. So you are adaptable. Like in the previous stage, we talked about here in this prenatal stage that you need to adapt to the outside environment of the womb, right? So this is what they're saying here, that you need to be highly plastic. You need to adapt to your environment. So let's say that you are working in an office where the boss is, very supportive of you. He has a very good nature. He's always kind. But then you get transferred to some other department, or maybe your boss changes and the next boss is very rude and he's always, trying to find faults in you. But you need to be highly plastic. You need to adjust yourself. You need to adapt to this new environment, to this new boss, and that is how you develop. Okay, this is what development is. And plasticity, of course, may vary across individuals. Some individuals may be able to develop very easily, some may find it difficult, and some may not be able to develop at all. So this is definite. Therefore, it varies highly between individuals. Development is influenced by multiple interacting factors. Now, there is no single factor that influence developmental trajectory. Okay, so it's not like only your father can affect your development. Development can also be affected by your teachers or your mother or your grandparent or someone else. Okay, it can also be affected by some particular social situations. Let's say that you saw some person beating his wife in the street, and that made you think about some particular things, and that made you, more mature and more developed. Or maybe that you were just going to school and some normal circumstances happened, or your books, maybe you read something in a book and that made you more mature. So maturity or development can occur through several factors. It is not limited to any one particular factor, which is very obvious. Okay, it's very obvious that development is not related or not it cannot be just, it cannot be affected through a single factor. It is affected by multiple factors, and all these multiple factors are continuously interacting with each other as well. Age graded influences. Age grade refers to a specific age group such as infants, adolescents, adult, etc. People belonging to same age grade share similar experience due to similar biological changes. However, their experiences can be similar due to shared social customs and values, such as starting school around 5 years or getting driving license at age 7, 18. So age graded influences basically means the influence that occur on a person or that happen on a person that belong to a particular age group. So these age groups are, these are basically divided into three or four age groups, which is infant, adolescence, and adulthood. So, like your peers or people within the same age group mostly go through, or at least go through many of the similar experiences. Like people going through adolescence would feel physical changes in their body, like their private areas developing, and growth of hair at certain areas. These things are common in all the adolescents. Okay, their thinking develops in a particular way. Sexual maturity, sexual arouseness takes place during this stage. So many of their experiences obviously vary because they are individuals living in different social environments, social circumstances. cultural circumstances. So many of these things would be different, but there are also some things which are common to all. Another example could be when you reach adulthood. Most people who reach adulthood have to go out into the world and find jobs, like for sustaining their lives. So these experiences are basically common to different age groups. History graded influences. The time period in which you are born influence your experience. Examples include war, any natural calamity. So the time period in which you are born also make your experience common to other people who are born in the same time period. So let's say that you are born in a country and in a time period where there is war everywhere. So everyone around you would be tensed and they would be fearful. They would fear for their lives. Okay, they might feel disappointed, dejected, sad. Uh, what was it? Depressed. Okay, they might feel depressed as well. So you would share these similar symptoms, these similar circumstances, and these similar factors of development with many other people of your age group as well. So age graded influence and history graded influence, these are two types of influences which are common. Okay, so these are some common types of influences which are common with other people as well, or with people from your age group or your history period. So you need to just remember them, that what are the common developmental factors. So the non-normative influences, the above discussed influences, age graded and history graded, are normative, that is shared by a large number of people. Okay, so these are categorized as normative influences. Whereas there are certain events that can be experienced only by one person or a few people, such as death of parents, divorce, or getting affected by some disease. So factors that are collectively influence a particular group of people are known as normative influence, while factors which are particular to some specific individuals are non-normative influence, which can be a death of your parent or death of your friend, or it can be like your dad's promotion or his transfer, or your parents divorce, or maybe some particular deadly disease that you're going through, like cancer patients. So the experience that they go through and the way that they develop, the developmental factors on these cancer patients, they are non-normative influences. Contextual influence on development. Okay, ecological systems theory. The ecological system theory proposed that human development is influenced by many socio-cultural or environmental forces. Now, for those of you who don't know, socio-cultural means social and cultural. This is just a word that has been created with two different words, and it means social and cultural. And environmental forces. He has envisioned the environment consisting of five structures, namely microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and chronosystem. So this guy, Uri Bronfenbrenner, he actually proposed one of the most influential theories of development, explaining the role of context in development, like the background factors and how they develop us, or how they help or affect our development. His theory is known as the ecological system theory. So he said that there are actually the environment consists of five structures. Any one person's environment consists of these five structures. Like any individuals. He said that any person's environment has these five structures, and he named them as microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, sorry, macrosystem, and chronosystem. So we'll study each of them in detail and what these actually mean. For microsystem, this is the immediate environmental structure where an individual have direct interaction with their significant others such as parents, siblings, teachers, and peers. So this is the direct environment of the. So microsystem is the direct environment of the individual. The people or the things that he is related to or comes in contact with directly. It could be his teachers, it could be his parents, it could be his siblings, it could be his friends as well. According to Bronfenbrenner, in this system, the relationship between individual and significant others is bidirectional. Okay, so he said that the relationship in this kind of environment is bidirectional, that is, both have an effect on each other. If parents influence the child, then the child also influences the parent in turn. So what we mean here is that if the child learns from his parents, parents also learn from the child. Second is your mesosystem. This is the second level structure of this model. This level is comprised of connections between microsystems. Okay, so this is basically the connection between your parents and teachers, or your parents and your friends, or your friends and teachers, or your friends and your relations, cousins, something like this. So this basically depends on the connection between the people who lie in your microsystem. So what I'm trying to say here is that the people who are part of your microsystem and the kind of relationship that they have with each other, not with you, but with each other, that is what creates mesosystem. Yeah, they've given an example here. For example, how parents of a child relate to the teachers, or how parents treat their child's friends affect child's behavior. So you develop according to how your parents treat your friends, or how your parents treat your teachers, or how your teachers treat your friends, something like that. So the kind of the things that you observe in this interaction is affects your development highly. Then third is your exosystem. It includes those social contexts on which a developing individual have no control. So it includes, now this time we are dealing with factors that we have no control over, okay, that are out of our control. Events occurring in this social context can affect mesosystem and the experiences of developing persons, such as, okay, so this exosystem consists of factors that you have no control over, but they can in turn affect your mesosystem. Okay, so mesosystem cannot affect exosystem, but exosystem can affect your mesosystem. So what factors are in exosystem? Exosystem can contain factors like your parents transfer, or your work schedule, or your availability of maternity, paternity leave, or availability from hospital. Okay. So let's say that you didn't get your maternity leave, that would have an uh, that would affect your child and his development. Let's say that your parent transferred from one place to another, so that would affect your relationship with your teacher. So it does not only affect the mesosystem, but it also affects the microsystem as well. Okay, because due to your father's transfer, maybe you're not able to meet your teacher anymore, maybe you're not able to study under your favorite teacher anymore. Okay, and maybe the relationship between your parents and your teacher was very good, but now the relationship would, decline over time because your parents were transferred somewhere else, you started living somewhere else, you form new acquaintances, new relation, you would start talking less and less to your previous acquaintances, previous relation. This kind of things happen, and I know better than most people out there. This has happened with me so many times. Now moving on to macro system, it includes cultural values, customs, and laws. It is the outermost level and does not have specific context. So it includes basically your social atmosphere, the kind of people that you live around, whether they allow certain things or don't allow certain things. Like in America, weed is legal in most of the states. In fact, in most of the states, smoking weed is legal there. So you can, without any worry, you can just smoke a weed, you can smoke a pack, and you just chill out there. But in our country like India, weed is very illegal, it is highly illegal. So you cannot do the same things here that you can do in some other country. So it depends on the laws of that country, the kind of people that allow certain things and don't allow certain things. So this is what form the part of your macro system. Now there seems to be another system, that is chrono system. The chrono refers to time, so it is outside of all the other systems, but still it is directly connected to you. According to Bronfenbrenner, it is a temporary level. It changes quickly and refers to any socio-historical event such as a war or economic condition of the country. So these are basically time-related events, and they can change over time. Let's say your country is going through a war, but after 2 or 3 years the war ends, or maybe your country wins. So the situation would definitely change, right? So these changing situations that change according to time, these are included in the chrono system. Thus, in a nutshell, the ecological model of development suggests that there is no single factor that affects the development of the individual significantly. Rather, it is the result of interacting factors. So, this theory also just reiterated the fact that development is not the outcome of a single factor. Rather, development is affected by multiple factors interacting with the individual and interacting with each other as well. Okay, so this is critical period hypothesis. I think this is the last one. This is actually the easiest one as well. So basically, I'll tell you in summary, but critical period hypothesis states, it states that there is a particular time period in a person's life in during which time period he must accomplish some task, he must develop in some particular way. Otherwise, he would never be able to develop those particular areas later in life once that time period is gone. Okay, now let's read it in detail. So critical period hypothesis. Again, now this is a hypothesis. This is not even a theory, but only a hypothesis. It has not been stated. It has not been confirmed at all. States that there is a biologically determined time period. Now this time period is biological. Okay, it has nothing to do with your mental age or your mental development. It has everything to do with your biological age. states that there is a biologically determined time period during which children are more sensitive to external stimuli and environment than at other times. So it may state that during a particular age you are more receptive of outside behavior than you are at other time periods. So it goes to say that at maybe during the ages of 5 and 6, you are more likely to take to heart what other people say. You are more likely to take their advice and feel offended easily than you might do at some other point in life, like maybe when you're 22 years old, 25 years old, or 40 years old. Okay, to be more specific, children's nervous system is more sensitive to certain environmental stimuli, and if for some reason child does not receive those appropriate stimulus during critical period, then the child will not be able to process those environmental stimuli in his or her future also. So what it basically means here is that the child's nervous system is not your nerves and veins. Okay, I'm not talking about veins. We're talking about your mental system, your nervous system, which transports particular signals to your brain. So during this time, it is very sensitive. Okay, like I said, that you feel offended easily and you can make friends easily. So at this particular period of time, your nervous system is highly sensitive. So if you do not do certain kind of things, and if you do not go through certain kind of experiences, then you may not be able to develop that particular part, that particular area later in life as well. Okay. So let's say that you didn't do anything wrong or anything bad during this early phase of your life where this nervous system is highly sensitive. So even in later in life, when you do something wrong, okay, when you do something wrong by chance, by mistake, or when you want to do something wrong, you may not be able to do it because you have always been fearful of doing wrong things. You hadn't developed that particular area, and you would always be fearful that what if things go really bad, what if things take a really wrong turn and I'm not able to accomplish these tasks. So your risk taking tendency would decline highly, okay, would be really low. This is just an example. This is not exactly what I mean by critical period hypothesis, but it is an example. The hypothesis of critical period is not only limited to human only, it is equally applicable on animal also. So the author here is saying that it also applies on animals as well and is not limited to humans only. For instance, newborn mice must experience normal viscous sensation in the first few days of life, or they will develop abnormal tactile sensitivity in the face region. So they're saying that newborn mice, they start growing their mustache. Okay, they start growing their whisker hairs. Okay, where were we? Yeah, whisker hairs here. And these whiskers hairs are actually irritating at the start. You know, like similar to how we start growing our mustaches, our beards, and they're kind of itchy and they're kind of sensitive in the start. So our body must adapt to this new sensation. Okay, our body must get used to this sensation. And if we do not get used to it, then we would suffer it throughout our life. Then we would always feel annoyed by our facial hairs, or the mice might feel. Cats must be allowed normal visual input during the first 3 months, or their vision will be permanently impaired. So, during the first 3 months a cat is born, its vision should not be restricted at all. It must be able to see all kinds of things, and it would be better the more kind of things and the more kind of colors and lights the cat sees. Because if it does not go through that period, if it does not go through that developmental period, then the cat might not be able to develop its visual eyesight, its visual clarity later in life as well. Similarly, in humans also, if children won't receive normal visual stimulus or language stimulus or opportunity for walking, then the child will not be able to see or acquire language or walk normally like other humans. So this was this hypothesis when I was small, that if you're not able to learn walking during the age of 2 to 4 years or before that, then you would never be able to walk properly in your life. So let's say that if you miss that time period and you start to learn walking by the age of 5 or 6, then you would never be able to walk properly in the later life as well. Another term similar to critical period is known as sensitive period, extended time period during which some learning is still possible. However, many psychologists consider both terms similar. So, if you really want to understand sensitive period, it could be like you can that most people learn to walk between the age of 1 to 2 years, but some people can take more time and they can continue to learn to walk till the age of 4 years as well. So this won't affect the child very much, but this is a kind of extended period. It's best if you learn to walk between the ages of 1 to 2 years. But if you do not uh, learn it, then you can still learn it by the time of 3 to 4 years. Okay, this is what this extended period theory basically meant. So with this, our chapter is finished. I know I was very, like I wasn't able to explain it satisfactorily, but I had been going through a lot for the past few days, like really too much. And I've been too burdened with so much that my mind is actually, all jumbled up inside. So I couldn't even properly form words, and I kept mumbling things again and again. Oh, but I think with a few days of rest, it will all come to naught. Anyways, let's sum up. So in this unit, we learned the concept of human development. We started with the meaning of human development and lifespan development. Then we moved on to discuss factors affecting development and basic issues of development. So the kind of issues that arise during development and the factors that directly affect our development. We learned about these kind of things. Perspective on lifespan development was covered, followed by ecological model of development. So we learned about this ecological model of development, right? This is the ecological model of development, this here, which had microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, chronosystem, and there was another system which was exosystem. Yeah. Okay. Lastly, we covered the meaning and importance of critical period in human development in this unit. So with this, our chapter is finished, and I hope that you understood all of it. And in case you did not understand anything, just write it down in the comments. I'll make a separate video or explain it right there and within the comment section as well. So with this, our chapter is finished, and see you in the next chapter or some other